Today we are going to talk about capacity. Capacity is another way to say volume, or how much something can hold. So today we're talking about customary units of capacity and volume. And again, customary units are what we use here in the United States. But you'll all probably also see some metric units, which is what we're going to talk about next week, on different kind of packages. So I want you to keep an eye out for those. So looking at our flip chart here, there are many different ways to measure capacity. And again, it says capacity is an amount that a container can hold. It's measured in teaspoons and tablespoons. So I know you've seen these around your kitchen somewhere. We've used them when we're baking or when we're making anything, even when you're making slime, even like projects like that. So those are teaspoons, tablespoons, and fluid ounces, which a lot of times you'll see that on different packages such as water bottles. So right here on these water bottles, you'll see FL stands for fluid, OZ is the abbreviation for ounces. So you'll see fluid ounces on there. It's also measured in cups, pints, quarts, and gallons, and these go from smallest to largest. So cups, you use those a lot when you're measuring and cooking. This is a big measuring cup that you probably have somewhere in your kitchen. Something similar to this. Pints, whenever I think of pints, my first thought is ice cream. Ice cream is sold in pints, so look for that in the freezer and see if you can find those. It says a pint. It's also quarts. If we were at school right now, you could go look at your milk cartons at school and see that they are in quarts. And then we know gallons too. Gallons, like a gallon of milk or 2 gallons of milk, half gallon of milk. You've seen those milk cartons, milk jugs in your refrigerator or in the freezer. And gallons are our biggest measurement, and it can even go above like milk jugs. And looking at this fish aquarium is about 100 gallons of water there. So the two things that we want to talk about today is knowing which one of these units is appropriate to measure, and then also converting and changing them, just like we did with time. So for example, you would never want to tell me how many teaspoons of water are in this fish tank. You just don't want to do it. It's just too much, it's too many, it's not the appropriate unit. Even cups would be too small to tell me how many cups of water are in this. So for large items, you want to use the largest unit of measure. And then on the flip side of that, if you were trying to measure something for a recipe and it only calls for a small amount, you're not going to tell me that there is like 1/35 of a gallon in there. That doesn't make sense as a fraction. You want to use smaller amounts like teaspoons and tablespoons. So let's get to some conversions. I want to introduce you to one of my favorite characters for capacity. This is Gallon Man, and Gallon Man is just a little example for us to remember our cups, our pints, and our quarts, and how many there are in a gallon. So let me explain Gallon Man. So this is 1 gallon. This would be how much is in 1 gallon. So in every gallon, there are 4 quarts, because that's like his upper arms and his upper legs. There's 4 quarts. And in every gallon, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pints, because there's 2 pints in 1 quart. And then in every gallon, there's 4, 8, 12, 16 cups, because there's 2 cups for every pint, or 4 cups for every quart, if that makes sense. So just think about Gallon Man as we're doing these exercises to convert these measurements. Once again, I have given you a chart. This chart is on your notes that hopefully you downloaded, printed. So we're going to use this chart. We're going to use our superhero Gallon Man, and we're going to do some conversions. So once again, I do want to remind you, let me turn my camera on for a minute, about our little hand motions, our little trick to remember if we are multiplying or if we're dividing. So if we're going from a large unit, such as a gallon, that's our largest one, and we're going down to quarts, which is smaller, we're going to multiply. So large unit, such as a gallon, down to quarts, you're going to multiply. If you're going from a smaller unit, like cups, and you're going up to pints, you're going from smaller to large, you're going to divide. I know it's hard to see my hands. I think I did this last time. So smaller, such as cups, up to larger, such as pints, you're going to divide, just like your straight line of your division symbol in your head can be one of the dots. So smaller units, such as cups, up to pints, you're going to divide. Bigger units, such as quarts, down to cups, you're going to multiply, okay? All right, so let's get to work on this chart. Let's convert these things. So this first one, instead of comparing greater than, less than, or equal to, like we did with time, we're actually just going to do the conversions and tell all of them are going to be equivalent, okay? So if we're looking at gallons and we want to figure out how many quarts are in 2 gallons, we can look at our chart, or we can use our gallon man. So let's look over here at our chart. I know in 1 gallon there are 4 quarts. So we're going from big gallons down to quarts. So if you're going from big, put your arms out, down to small, cross them like an X, you're going to multiply. But you say, well, what are you going to multiply, Miss Helm? Well, if 1 gallon has 4 quarts, you want to know how many quarts are in 2 gallons. So you're going to end up multiplying 2 gallons times 4 quarts, because there's 4 quarts over here, looking at our gallon man, for every 1 gallon. So if we had 2 of these gallon mans, we would be counting the quarts that are in them. So 4 times 2 is, let's get a different color here to do our answer in. 4 times 2 is 8. There are 8 quarts. Let's put that in the right place. 8 quarts in 2 gallons. All right, let's try our next one. So we want to know how many pints are in 3 quarts. Well, let's look at our chart over here. In 1 quart, I know there's 2 pints, right? So let's look over here at our gallon man. 1 quart, that's his upper arm. There's 2 pints for every 1 quart. Well, I want to know how many's in 3 quarts, okay? So let's multiply first, and then we'll check our work using our gallon man. We can kind of just count on there. So if there's 2 pints in 1 quart, we want to multiply 2 times 3, because we're going from larger quarts, put your arms out, down to smaller pints. Cross them, we are multiplying. So 2 pints times 3 quarts is 6 pints. So now let's count on our gallon man, and I'm going to make some marks on here. Let's count and see how many pints are in 3 quarts. So here's 1 quart. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's it, because we only wanted to know 1, 2, 3 quarts is 6 pints. So we were right. We were right. All right. Let's go down to this next one here. This one, we are going from smaller cups up to pints. So let me turn my video back on. So I know that cups are smaller than pints. And if you look on your gallon man over here, your cups are down at the very bottom. That's his, kind of like his fingers, I guess, maybe his hand. There's only 4 of them though, but there's 2 cups for every 1 pint here. 2 cups for every 1 pint. So we're going from smaller cups up to larger pints, which means we're going to divide, right? So let's figure out what we're going to divide. We have 8 cups. We want to know how many pints that is. So if you look here, there are 2 cups for every 1 pint. So you're going to end up dividing 8 by 2 to figure out how many pints that is. So you know off the top of your head, 8 divided by 2 is 4. Well, let's go to our gallon man and check. So if we have 8 cups, I want to know how many pints that is, right? So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 cups. Those, just this side of his body has 8 cups. So now let's count the pints. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 pints for 8 cups. And that makes sense because for every 2 cups is 1 pint. So we we divided that by 2. All right, let's try this one here. Let's go across. And then I'm going to let you do these last 2 on your own like we did with time. And then you're going to pause the video and then we'll come back and check it together. So let's do this last one. 16 pints to gallons. So again, let me clear off our drawings over here. We're going from small pints up to gallons. So if you go from smaller pints up to gallons, you are doing which operation? You're doing division, that's right. So we got to figure out what to divide by. So we got to figure out how many pints are in 1 gallon. I don't have that measurement here on my chart, but I can look at my gallon man to kind of help me, okay? So this is 1 gallon again. So how many pints did we say were in this 1 gallon? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I can kind of put that over here and say 1 gallon is 8 pints. 1 gallon equals 8 pints. Well, if 1 gallon equals 8 pints, I know I have to divide by 8. I'm going to divide these pints by 8 to figure out how many gallons that would be. So 16 divided by 8 is 2. And that makes sense. If you look at our gallon man and you had 16 of these instead of 8, you would have 2 gallon men, wouldn't you? Which means that is 2 gallons. Okay. All right, let's try these down here again. 12 quarts is how many gallons? So you're going from small quarts up to big gallons. So small quarts up to big gallons, you have to divide. So try this problem on your own, pause the video, try it on your own, and then come back and we'll check our answer together. Okay, so now that you've got your answer, let's look and see if we got the same thing. So 12 quarts equals how many gallons? Well, if I look up here, I know there's 4 quarts in 1 gallon. And again, we said we were dividing. So you divide 12 by 4, and 12 divided by 4 is 3. So if you got 3 gallons, pat yourself on the back. And that kind of makes sense because look, there's 4 here. So if you had another gallon man, that would be 8. And another gallon man, that would be 12 because you're counting by 4s because there's 4 quarts there. You'd have 3 gallon men up here. All right, let's do this last one. Pause the video. Get your answer. Come back and check it, okay? We're going from cups up to gallons. So small to big gallons. I'm sorry, big gallons down to cups. My bad, I'm sorry. So this one, you're going big to small. So you're going to be multiplying. So pause the video, get your answer, come back and check it. Okay, so what did you multiply by to get this answer? Because over here, it doesn't say how many cups are in a gallon. We can look at our gallon man and figure it out though. In this 1 gallon, there are 4, 8, 12, 16. So you have to multiply 4. Make this a little smaller, different color. Y'all know I like my colors. 4 times 16 to get your answer. Well, I can break that down if I don't know that off the top of my head. I can do 4 times 10 is 40. And then 4 times 6 is 24. And all I did was break apart 16 into 10 and 6. And if you add those up, 40 and 24, you get 64. So there are 64 cups in 4 gallons. So if I had 4 of these gallon men here, I would have 64 cups. So great job today converting using your capacity chart when you do your work today. Use this chart, use this gallon man to help you.